Hello again. Dr. Welgan here. Thank you for joining me in this series. We are leaving the series on obesity, which I have just concluded, and we're moving on to an area of research and clinical interest I've had for a number of years. And this area of interest to me should also be quite of importance to you as well, as members of the general public, and particularly for those of you who actually have these medical problems. Okay? This is the area of the gastrointestinal tract. I have had a special interest in actually 4 different conditions of the gastrointestinal tract over the years. Actually 5, but more recently 4. In the next 4 sessions, we're going to be talking about 4 conditions that are major medical problems in the United States and in the industrialized world. Those are irritable bowel syndrome, colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, and GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. I have been doing research in the field of peptic ulcer early and irritable bowel syndrome for some time over here at the University of California, Irvine, in the Division of Gastroenterology, and publishing out of that for over the years. A medical colleague of mine, Dr. Hushang Meshkapour, and I actually were the co-directors of the Behavioral Medicine Center in Gastroenterology here at UCI for quite some time, and conducted a series of research studies out of the clinic. In each one of the presentations, I'm going to set that particular topic aside and expand on it and describe to you what I am doing here with it clinically, also through the Research Foundation for the Advancement of Behavioral Medicine, the clinical studies that are underway in each of these areas. So for those of you who actually have one of these conditions and would like to know a little bit more about how a psychophysiologist, a behaviorist, actually approaches the problems and tries to provide some relief for you for these problems here by addressing some of the underlying psychological factors that can exacerbate, if not cause, some of these conditions. Stay tuned and we'll talk more about how you might find it interesting to join me in one of those studies or even in the treatment programs. Okay? First of all, let me just talk to you a little bit about myself as a psychophysiologist. You've heard a little bit about me earlier. You can go to my website, the Center, Welgan Center for Behavioral Medicine, if you want to learn a little bit more about me and the types of treatment programs I have available here as a clinical psychologist, and a wide array of disorders that people might have for which they come in for treatment. Okay? As a psychophysiologist, working alongside a physician, we look at the same condition, the same organ, if you will. The physician looks through a different prism than the psychophysiologist in evaluating and diagnosing the condition. They're looking for physiological, hormonal, biological processes, disease processes that may well affect that particular organ, okay? Or body part. We see the same thing, but as a learning theorist out of experimental laboratories, here in my field, in experimental psychology, I'm a learning theorist, old rat runner, if you will, and I look at the same organ, let's say the colon, and we ask different questions. You've heard what I suggest the physician would ask. The psychophysiologist in gastrointestinal medicine takes a look at that same organ and says, gosh, that is an interesting behavioral pattern that organ displays. How did it learn how to do that? What do you mean, learn how to do it? Organs don't learn. People learn. Specific organs can actually change their function as a function of learning. By the way, that means an interaction with the environment and how the environment actually reinforces the behavior of an organ. Can the environment actually influence, affect, and produce long-term changes in organ system function? That's the question we ask as psychophysiologists in behavioral medicine. Behavioral medicine. We look at many of the medical problems from a behavioral point of view and attempt to address the underlying processes, psychological processes, that may well change the function and the, quote, disease process of that organ. It's called behavioral medicine. Okay? Been around a long time. There's a whole society set up, national and international. It's got the International Society for Behavioral Medicine, and we have our own National Society for Behavioral Medicine if you are interested in looking that up. Okay? There is another organization which is devoted really to basic research in psychophysiology. And that is, it's a professional organization called the Research Society for Psychophysiology. Another really good organization. We'll talk more about some of the other associations here in the United States that have a similar interest in the psychological interface with medicine and the extent to which they interface and overlap. Now, before we begin this series tomorrow, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me, I suggest that you try to contact me at my email address. Let me give that to you. It is PETERWELGANPH.D, as in dog, at Cox, COX.net. You can also reach me by phone here at 949-509-6576. Let me repeat that one more time. 949-509-6576. I'll be happy to respond to any questions that you might have. And later down the line, I'll be talking to you about how you might be able to enroll in as a subject, as a participant in one of my research projects here at the center, or for those of you who are interested in actually coming in to one of my treatment programs, you're welcome to do that. I am going to have orientation meetings, which will be posted, the dates and the location of these free orientation meetings for those of you who may want to learn more about each of these programs, research and clinical. They're free, and you can join me in these orientation meetings to determine whether or not they are suitable for you. Okay? But in the meantime, I hope to be able to clarify as much as possible any questions you might have through my presentations when dealing with any of these disorders, by the way, and those disorders that I'll be talking to you about in the future. Okay, thank you very much for sticking around for this introductory session. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to be talking about irritable bowel syndrome. Thanks very much.